Okay.
3, 2, 1, go.
Hello, viewers. This is the Eldridge Henderson's Real News Show, and I want to tell you again that I'm very pleased that you are viewing this episode. This will be a two-part series. Today we will be talking about changing lives in 30, 60, or 90 days. I understand that you all have been sending emails and been calling the Eldridge Henderson Real News office. And again, I want you to continue to do so. And as I always tell you, you can call us at 601-201-1957 and ask for the Eldridge Henderson Real News Show producer, and he or she will give you the information you need. So keep in mind, if you want to change your life, your status, your family, and your community, all you have to do is have an action plan for success, and you'll be able to make some significant changes in 30, 60, or 90 days, guaranteed. Now, do you want to make some changes economically, politically, socially? Or are you satisfied with the position that you have with your family? Are your family members doing what you want them to do educationally? Do they have their economic status in action? Are they moving forward with their new thrust for economic development? Or are you having trouble with your spouse or your partner, and you've been together a long time and there is now a drain on your relationship? Now, these things, ladies and gentlemen, will put you at a point where you say, I am not happy with myself, I'm not happy with my spouse, I am not happy with my relatives, and I must make a change, and I have to do something right now. So if this is the way some of you all are, and I know it is, you need to take personal responsibility for your life and your future and start thinking about doing something real soon, like tomorrow. Now you might say, well, this is not the way it ought to be. I need to pray over this thing. I need to think about it. I need to just wait and see what's going to happen. I can assure you, if you do those three things, one thing will happen for sure, and that is your situation will become worse. Every day, every hour, every month, you put off something that's going to take you being responsible for your status, things are going to get worse. Now, some say, well, I'm going to do something specific. I will be talking to friends. I'm going to talk to my parents. I'm going to the local preacher. I'm going to talk to the politicians in the area. And I'm telling you again, you need to talk to yourself first and say, I will be moving in the right direction right now. I'll say it again. You need to talk to yourself first and say, I will be moving in the right direction right now, and this is what I'm going to do. I will prosper in 2015 and beyond. I'm going to accept myself as I am, but I'm going to take changes and make things different and better. And the changes that I'm going to take will be promoting economic stability. If necessary, I'm going to get some additional education and training. If I have to, I will get another job, or I will quit the 2 or 3 jobs I have and stay with one and concentrate on doing a better job with the first job that I have. That's the one that pays most of the bills. Even though I have what I call twofold issues to address, and one is daily survival, the second issue is family survival, I am going to stop thinking about these problems I have. And I am going to tell you right now, ladies and gentlemen, and listen carefully, that most of you all have some serious economic problems. You have serious personal problems. Therefore, you have serious family problems. And this is what you have going for you right now. Some of you know, and I'm talking about 75% of the listeners, of the viewers, of those that's been calling in, those that's been sending emails. The first problem you have, ladies and gentlemen, I'm saying now about 75% of you, is that currently you're living from paycheck to paycheck. Every time you get paid, your money is spent before you can save anything, and later on we're going to talk about how important that is. Time you get what you call a little cash reserve, When you look around, there's a major holiday coming up. Easter, Christmas, birthday, anniversary. So you spend a little money that you don't have to spend on one of those economic holidays that the power structure put in order to take your money. Then you go down and say, I have a great need. I must buy something special for my significant other. Then you go to the bank and you pull out that last $500 that you have, and you call that your emergency money. But you pull it out to buy a gift for your significant other. He or she doesn't need a gift. They need to give you $500. And that's what you didn't do. Tell them, I'm struggling. I can't do anything for you this year. This holiday is going to have to pass. And if you keep on doing this, folks, you're broke, you're losing your relationships, you're going to feel that there's nothing significant in your life. And when you know anything, you're going to start doing some of these things that people are talking about every day that's negative. You're going to start thinking about drinking, gambling. You're going to get depressed. You're going to have a lot of individual anxiety. And when you know anything, you're going to start moaning and groaning about some of the shortcuts you need to take to make ends meet. So I'm telling you, folks, when you get to the point where you want to make these kind of changes that are negative, you got to start listening to yourself. Forget about those liars and all those evil, negative people that you've been talking to, and telling yourself, they know what I need to know. I'm telling you, and in just a few minutes you will see, when you start talking to lazy, negative people, you're not going to do anything but increase the scope of your problem, and you're going to begin to say, I am in bad shape now, and in 6 months, 9 months, or 1 year, if I don't change, I'll probably be homeless. I'm almost dead broke now. My family is always complaining, and they'll probably be gone. So I'm going to make a difference in my life, and I'm going to change. My job today is to give you the real news and tell you exactly how you need to make these changes. The first thing you need to do is to write down on a piece of paper 5 things that you're not going to repeat in 2015 and beyond that cause you the great deal of pain that you have now. I told you earlier, the pain that you have now is that you don't have any money in the bank. You spent your last $500. You are getting paid every week or every month, but your pay is low. You can't pay your bills. I already told you that since you don't have a decent job, you don't make enough money to pay your bills, therefore you have poor relationships in your family. Your children are not happy to see you around. Your wife or your spouse or your partner just hate to see you coming because they know you don't have anything to give. They know that you have personal problems. They know that you have a negative self-esteem. They know that you have no life plan. They know that the children are hating you more and more. Now they are getting out of control. And the family members are interfering with you and the other significant people in your life by telling them how bad you are. And folks, I'm telling you, when you start seeing this happen in your life, you're ready then to lose control. So what are you going to do? I will make it simple to you. You have to start thinking about taking control of your career. And you have to ask yourself one question, and that is, do I like the job that I have that I'm unhappy with? I know I don't like the pay, but do I like the job? If you say no, you need to immediately start thinking about 2 things. Getting your resume together so you can get a better job, or if you know getting a good resume together is not going to help you, you're going to have to start thinking about retraining. We'll get into that in just a few minutes. And what you want to do then, though, is ask your friends that are working, that are doing well, to tell you about a job where they are working. Go ahead and talk to a career counselor and talk about some educational opportunities in your community. And say, I have a need for a job. I need to enhance my skills. where are the good jobs for 2015 and beyond? Give me 3 examples of where I can make $15 to $50 an hour. And usually those good friends or those career counselors will tell you. And if you do that, folks, you're going to think about that something is getting ready to happen in my life. Something is getting ready to happen. And that something is that you are focusing for the first time in years on making some specific changes so your family, your money, your job, and your career will become positive instead of negative. We call this taking control of yourself and your important others. Now listen at this. I'm going to tell you again how you can get this personal satisfaction from what you decide today that will stay with you forever. And that is, you have to start taking risk. And in a few minutes, I'm going to tell you in part 2 how you can take that risk that has been avoided for the last 5 or 10 years in your life. You have been avoiding risk taking. The first thing you want to do, since you have problem financially, you want to make a budget, a personal budget, something you don't even want to do, you've never done it. And then you're going to have to tell yourself, since I know I've been broke for the last 10 or 15 years in my life, and the reason I'm broke is because I never did start saving anything. And the next thing you're going to do, take a risk and start saving at least 10% of your monthly income. You then want to do something that kills a lot of people, and that is cut up those debit cards and those credit cards. Use cash. And I'm going to tell you as I conclude this section that if you consider these things, make the budget, save 10% for yourself, cut down on your debit cards and your credit cards, use cash. If you do these simple things, you will save 18% of your income by using cash versus those cards. Because when you see something you want and you have a card, you're going to buy it or you're going to purchase that. And I guarantee you this will diminish the personal relationship you have with your family and your loved ones. So as I conclude this section, I want to tell you that think about an action plan for success that can start changing your life and your status in 36 to 90 days. And as I come up with part 2 in just a few minutes, I'm going to be more specific and tell you how your marriage, how you find positive relationships where there's nothing missing, how you can specifically identify your problems, and how you can come up with solutions by talking to your family, your children, and your significant others. Think about making this commitment, and if you do this, you will find things changing in 30, 60, or 90 days. Thank you for viewing this section, and just after these few words, you're going to hear an underwriter, and you'll be able to come back and get some real news from the Eldridge Henderson Real News Show.
Do you think? Let me check this focus real quick. All right, tape is still rolling. Here we go. 3, 2, short natural pause. 1.
Thank you, listeners, viewers.
Okay, cut from the top end. Viewers,
Yeah,
viewers.
yeah, that's right.
2, 1.
Thank you, viewers. Thank you for tuning in. As you know, this is part 2 of the Eldridge Henderson Real News Show. And in the first segment, we were talking about changing your life and status in 36 to 90 days. I talked to you about your economic situation, how it's getting worse or has gotten so bad where you're dead broke. I also told you how listening and working and dealing with negative thinking people won't get you anywhere. And since you know these remedies have already not worked for you, I am going to give you some specific things you need to do as an individual that will change your life and change your status. And they are very, very simple. And if you do this and involve everyone in your house, your spouse, your partner, your children, and any other folks you have there, you will see some immediate change. Immediate. And here's the first thing you need to do. You need to turn off that television set for 2 or 3 hours each night. Some of you all turn your television set on when you get up in the morning. Others leave it on all day because there's always somebody sitting around the house that's not working for various reasons. They're looking at television, talking on the telephone, 2, 3, 4, 8, 10 hours a day and night. So turn that off, turn that phone off, and give yourself a 2 or 3 hour time of silence and non-interference from technology. And you will focus then on what you are really missing in your life. And if you do that, all you have to do to get that focus clear is to do something you haven't done in years, and that is pick up a book. Read a book. The first thing I would say, the best book, of course, is to read the Bible and start with Proverbs. Read Psalms, and then go to any other books you want in the Bible. But if you look at Proverbs and Psalms, you will find that you will get the information you need that can help you as an individual and as a family and help you with your marriage and with your children. Then you're ready to move into the next level, where you start reading newspapers and magazines. You want to stay up with the local, state, national, international news. You want to read the magazines and stress areas where you are interested in working, so you can see where the jobs are, what the salaries are. And then you can learn that it's always good to talk to people that are doing things, and that's when you look up those relatives of yours that's been working in the same job, that started off 10 or 15 years ago making the minimum wage, and now they're making $50, $60, and $100 an hour. And the other thing you want to do, folks, is learn to talk to your family members. Some of you don't talk. You sit around and moan and groan, go into a back room somewhere and just won't even come out unless you come in to eat. And as you do this, later on you're going to find you're not even coming out to eat. You're going to tell your dear, darling wife or your spouse or someone to come, just bring my food, or just leave it out somewhere and I'll get it later on. So folks, you need to start talking to your family. You need to start eating together. And then you need to think about you and your family enrolling in what we call self-help classes. You need family counseling sometimes to go as a unit. You need to go to the library. Stay away from that computer and sit there for 2 or 3 hours a day and read. You know you're broke. You know you've lost your job. Your kids are not doing anything in school anyway because they see that you're sitting around so depressed. You have so much anxiety until they don't feel like doing anything. So you need to renew your faith in yourself, so your spirituality will increase and then start flowing to the other members of your family. So if you do this, renew and deepen your spiritual faith, you'll probably see some real good positive results taking place in the latter part of 2015 and beyond. And this is what's going to happen to you. You're going to eventually get a better job. You're going to find that you'll be making more money to spend, more money to save. You're going to see that you will have better relationships with your mate and your children. You will see, since you're not looking at as much television and playing around with that computer and gossiping with your friends, you're going to see with a 6 months period of avoiding all those negative things, your mind will become sharper. And then you will see that your children's grades will begin to improve. And that's when you start thinking, I think I can work with this. And guess what's going to happen to you then? You're probably going to become more spiritual. And you will be then proclaiming that the Lord has been looking down upon me and my family, and that he is going to bless us in 2015 and beyond. We're going to do some things that we've never done before. We're going to start thinking about this self-enhancement, and then we are going to get involved in community activities. We are clear now. We are working. We are saving. We are making a difference as family members, individually and collectively. So we're going to get out here and start working in the community. We're going to help the politicians and the preachers and the community developers address the problems that are causing us as a unit in a Pacific neighborhood or community disappear. Don't you want some potholes to disappear? Don't you want some bad politicians to be kicked out of office? Don't you think it's your time to think about running for a public office? Do you have a group of friends you know that can do better than the current politicians? Do you think it might be good for you to leave the church you are belonging to now because it's not doing anything? You've never done anything there. Isn't it about time for you to leave and go to a church that's doing something in the community to help the people? Isn't it time to talk to the preachers that are not doing anything but telling you to help them so you can go to heaven when you die? Aren't you tired?
Go to heaven with 3, 2, 1, natural pause.
Viewers, listen to me now. I'm getting into something where I'm beginning to meddle in your life. I'm talking about two people that most of you love. That's the preachers and the politicians. I told you sometime both of those individuals or those groups will not do what's best for you at all times. And I told you that if you stop putting so much confidence in those folks that's not doing anything, and you start looking out for community enhancement by doing things yourselves, you then will see that your life will get better. And here's an example. Suppose you have one person that's been in office 15, 16, or 30 years. Do you think you have seen any changes done his or her administration? I can tell you not. You have not seen any. The same person that's in office going to have basically the same staff. He is going to give, if there are any contracts, to the same people. And when you see a change, it's going to only happen when it is made to happen by someone like you. And one of the first things you need to start doing, since you now have yourself together, you get out in the community and you start telling people that we're going to have term limits in this county, in this city, in this state. Say no one, no politician or no preacher should serve no more than 2 terms or 6 years in the same position. If one has to stay in one position longer than 6 years, that means he is becoming what we call one that's going to promote the status quo. You get these politicians out after 2 terms. You get rid of these preachers and others that are leading you spiritually after about 6 years in the same position. Tell them to go elsewhere. Vote them out of the church. Vote those politicians out. And then, folks, if you want to make sure things are moving in the right direction, as an individual, you need to then do the research and get yourself appointed to local, state, and regional boards and commissions, and you can serve yourself in a position where you can determine what happens in your community. When you serve on these boards and commissions, you will find that the local government, the state government, and the federal governments usually send monies to these municipalities, and they have boards and groups that will determine who gets it. And that's where you come in. You can oversee the funds that's coming from the federal government, for instance. They might have $10 million for your community, for rehabbing houses. They might have $5 million for tutorial programs. They might have $2 million for the handicapped. They might have $1 million for what we call same-sex marriage legislation. And there are money for legislation. They will give you demonstration grants, folks, to go out in the community and organize things so people can get new legislation because things are changing. And I know you don't want to hear that. Most people get upset when you start talking about same-sex marriage, but I'm telling you, folks, it's coming. And it's going to be as common as apple pie in the next 15 or 20 years. And all of you know now, you have relatives that are engaging in those kind of activities, but you try to deny it and say, well, they don't belong to our family. But you know you're lying to yourself. So you have to accept things, whether you like it or not. And when you get in these positions in the community where you're controlling the boards and the commissions, you'll be able to help those folks spend money and do things that's going to improve the community. And something else you need to do. You need to make a statute, pass a mandate that says all the elected officials that are elected or appointed in office must start immediately adhering to high standards. And this is what you want to do. You're going to tell these folks through legislation that they are going to have to do 3 things that they have not done in the past. And that is, they're going to have to put together a projected fixed budget during their term of office. Some of you don't know how much money the mayor has to spend. Some of you don't even know that the county supervisors have millions of dollars to spend almost any way they want, even though they do have legal mandates that specify certain monies and certain percentages should be sent for certain things. But you know, they can change that if they choose to do so. They can change money around, move line items, and sometimes neglect to spend the money. But if they have a fixed budget, and they have this budget on the computer where you can see what's going on, you will find that you'll be in a position to monitor what is done, and then you can see that your money is being promoted in a way where you can see some economic development in your community. And the last thing that you need to consider when you get involved in community affairs is that all of your elected and appointed officials, including your ministers, should have what we call a 3 or 5 year master plan that will address 2 things: public education and training and economic development. Every preacher, every elected or appointed official should be engaging in prioritizing a plan to improve the education and training, the economic development in the rural areas and in these small towns. And they will include infrastructure upgrades, even considering things that are happening in the large metropolitan areas. If you do this, folks, and get yourself to the point where you are going to be appointed to these boards and commissions, you will find, as I conclude, that in just a few years, you then, as a family person that had no money, no job, family about to fall apart, you've gotten your life together, you have been spiritually reinforced, and now, with your local experience in government and politics, you will decide to run for office. You are saying, I will be the next mayor. I will be on the next board of supervisors in my county. I am going to be the alderman. And I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, that when you start moving in the right direction, staying away from lazy, negative thinking people, getting yourself involved in your family and helping all of those around you improve themselves, and then you step out one more step and get involved in community affairs, you will see time and time again that things can change only if you make the change. And as I conclude and prepare for the next segment, I will assure you that if you want to change your life and status, you need to start doing something that's different. And in 30, 60, or 90 days, I can assure you that things will get from the lower level to the upper level. And that's what we call getting close to positivity, where things will start getting easier. And you'll be moving then to the point where you feel comfortable. Your self-esteem will rise. Your bank account will increase. Your future will look brighter. And you will be in control of your family, yourself, your community, and you'll be the one making the policy. You'll be a policy maker, not an order taker. So thank you for viewing this segment, And later on, you will have another response to these parts, part 1 and 2, on the Eldridge Henderson Real News Show, because every time we talk to you, we will be talking about education, politics, economic development, community development, local, state, national, and international news. We will talk about the problem. We will talk about the solutions. And we will tell you specifically what you can do to make some changes in 30, 60, or 90 days, guaranteed. Stay tuned for next week. We will be here on the same station talking to you about real news. Call your friends now and tell them next week, stay tuned for the Eldridge Henderson Real News Show. Thank you again, viewers. I love talking to you. Thank you.
Okay.
And do your own, what you're doing. See, you